play something a little more fun. Once again, Splyce on the blue side, because Vitality picked red. No changes to the bans as of yet.
Yeah, I think the Elise may be left available by Splyce if they want to be able to pick up a jungler for Trashy, but we talked about how the Lee Sin worked for them. I don't mind this being banned out as well. It's one of those picks that I think kind of can have that effect for both players, but isn't that high priority takeaway.
Yeah, and when we loaded up the previous game, there was 3 champions that had 100% presence in picks and bans. It was Thresh, Kennen, and Xayah. Xayah is no longer on that list because she was left unpicked and unbanned in game 1.
Surely Thresh comes out again here for Splyce as the first pick, and then we go into the second rotation where Vitality now with Kennen not available. It was the Gragas, remember, that they banned out in the last game, and it's not a ban, but it's a takeaway here. Obviously a flex pick, can go top lane, can go jungle. Vitality sticking to their guns here with the Kalista. I think it worked well. I think it still can work very well for Steelback. I just want to see more teams playing on 7-11 because I don't feel like Kalista is this high priority that you're taking it here. I think there are enough viable AE carries that you can wait a little bit longer.
I concur. Vitality, however, maybe do not. Actually, no. They definitely don't because it's locked in 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
It's going to be the Caitlyn this time for Kobbe. Going to have a small pivot. And the Ivern that was banned away in game number 1 has now been locked in. So if ever there was a terrifying late game, Thresh, Caitlyn, Ivern is already that.
Yeah, and I expect a little bit of adaptation on the Caitlyn because she was nerfed on 7-11. A couple of the changes to the way Hurricane interacts with Headshot. We'll get into that as the game continues when it comes to itemization. But for now, we're looking at the ban phase. Jarvan taken away, of course, seen that a lot in LCK and in the EU LCS now in the top lane, so not allowing Wunder to have one of these dominant picks into a lot of the tanks that are being played top. That leaves us with Shen, that leaves us with the Fiora that people are starting to expect, a Rumble. A lot of high priority picks still there for top lane.
There are indeed, and you know, talking about some of those top lane picks, Wunder had some fun last week.
Yeah.
Actually ran the Akali in game number 2 against H2K. Now, unfortunately, the game was lost around him and he got stomped because his lane opponent got 3 kills. And then he's like, come on, Akali versus Fiora. What am I meant to do when she's 3-0?
Odo Amne gets to 8 kills. Now, Graves would be a ban here if they want to take away one of the junglers that works well against Ivern, but they're going to leave it available. Obviously, Graves has had a couple of adjustments as well, and is a fine matchup, unless they want to flex that Gragas into the jungle. Same principle. You can wait post 6, farm it up, and then utilize that ultimate to get fights started.
I wonder if Splyce are calling Vitality's bluff, saying that we're not going to ban the Graves because we expect it to be Gragas, and if that was the case, it has backfired. We may have to ask them a little bit later because the Graves is locked in. That definitely means Gragas top lane.
Yeah, so with Rumble banned away, matchups that we've seen before would be Galio, but that's gone too.
Yeah.
Kennen is gone. Jace is gone. Do you pick a tank here, like a Nautilus that just, or a Shen that just plays up against it and just plays that, or do you go for something like a Kled with Wunder Special or something like that?
With Caitlyn, Thresh, Taliyah, Global Shen has to be the answer here.
You'd think so.
Very safe.
Akali would farm up against it. Fiora could duel it later into the game, and we do have a duelist potential up in that top lane now as Fiora gets locked in. Look for that Taliyah, maybe to look topside as well here.
Ooh, lots of options. Split push power on the side of Splyce. Vitality could surprise, but we're looking for a mid laner now. What does Nukeduck run into this Taliyah? Could go for another assassin if he wanted to. And it's going to with the Ekko.
Allows you to run teleport, allows you to roam quite as effectively as Taliyah. There are a couple of other matchups that we've been seeing around the world in LCK, that lot. A lot of different picks. Some people playing the Orianna that does get pushed in at first. You see, even we've seen Zed being played a couple of times as well.
I'm just glad that Nukeduck is going back to the champions where he has always looked the best.
Yeah.
On assassins, things that are in your face. He's coming up against a mid laner in Sencux who has slightly more of a utility style role on his team, but definitely always delivers in the mid to late game. And going to have a champion in Taliyah that can scale, that can have impact in either of these side lanes.
And Splyce were one of the teams to bring Taliyah out first. Remember, Wunder also played her in the top lane when she debuted in the LCS. So Splyce are relying quite heavily on this Caitlyn, on this Fiora in the later game to take over fights quite significantly. Of course, Wunder will be out on the side lane. There's not really anybody that can shut down a Fiora once she's ahead in this game. So maybe trying to punish Vitality with what they got hit with last week in Game 2.
I just think the scaling on the side of Splyce looks terrifying to me. Fiora, Ivern, Caitlyn in the late game, and if anybody steps out of place, put a wall behind them thanks to Taliyah and lock them in.
Mid-game team fighting for Vitality though. Ekko, Kalista, Gragas. That's a lot of potential when you come to, you know, comboing ultimates together, getting into fights, locking people down, take them out.
Vitality on the verge of going down 0-2 to Splyce. Can their mid-game overcome the Splyce boys as we load up onto the Rift? It's going to be on Nukeduck once again. He's got that teleport rather, and he's got the ability to play in the side lanes to go toe-to-toe, at least for a while, against a number of Splyce's champions. But what do you think about this early game? Obviously, we know Ivern's going to be a little bit slow to start and could be under pressure from Djoko. Yeah,
Fiora might need a little extra time as well. Taliyah should be able to push out, as will Caitlyn. Although, alongside a Thresh, not the best push power, it's still Caitlyn, so you take over the laning phase. If they do hook Steelback or Vander, with that Ignite, with the Caitlyn trap alongside, should be able to have that impact in the laning phase. So I think this is an interesting one. Again, it's a very different setup to what a lot of teams are drafting. We were expecting to see less priority on Caitlyn.
Yeah.
7-11 has come through.
Still just a super powerful champion all game long. Despite the anti-synergy with Hurricane, no longer charging up that headshot. But I guess, what was the word usaging on patch notes? You have to pick. You either want AoE damage or single target. Going for the likes of your rapid fire cannon to get those long-range headshots up and running.
As a Caitlyn player, it's infuriating because that was always so satisfying when you're farming a wave and you just constantly get headshot after headshot after headshot with Hurricane. But anyway, we're going to probably see the adaptation to rapid fire cannon come through for Kobbe as this game comes later into the second item. We had started seeing that on 7.10 in LCK as well anyway, so it's kind of that next phase of where that build was going.
All right, we'll find out how that works out in a moment or two.
After the pick and ban phase, and I asked him why the focus on Kalista, no one else in Europe is doing it. And he said, well, it seems like it's a really good combination when you pair it up with Thresh or Braum, so we have to take it away when they pick Thresh, and it's really strong in general. Asking him also if it was a personal matchup up against his old team, he said, oh yeah, it's always been personal. All right, back to you guys.
Thank you very much for that one, Pirate.
Surprise pyrotechnics! Ah.
Surprise pyrotechnics! Surprised us as well. And Djoko.
Surprise first blood.
Djoko again, by the way, first blood. That's 4 for 4 in the summer split. Continues to rack them up.
Caught Trashy before he was able to get back around for the procs on his jungle to clean up. So Trashy's still level 1, does have that smite available. Was busy paying attention to pyrotechnics.
Yeah, well, I think we all were a little bit. Trashy's going to find Djoko once again.
Oh no, this is horrible.
Trashy's going to have some support from Mikyx, but Mikyx may not have his lantern. Nope. That's right, no W available. Trashy's going to get killed by the dragon. Djoko gets his second. Mikyx forced to flash over the wall. Steelback decides to hold on to his. Vander's already used that exhaust. 2 kills to Vitality already. Yeah,
that is incredibly painful. Trashy is still level 1, and it'll be 4 minutes into the game before he really hits level 2. Djoko is trying to just punish Trashy as hard as possible. They gave him this farming jungler. We talked about how if they don't ban the Ivern, he's most likely going to pick it, and you can see that Vitality have a strategy to go alongside. So Trashy tried to go in and invade. They had the ward, trying to get onto that red buff to go and counter jungle, steal it away, but this is the adaptation that Vitality played. Was Djoko already had red, already went aggressive, and now Trashy has been found twice in areas past the river and easily taken down.
Yeah, Djoko, cool guys don't look at explosions. And just watch him taken out by the waft of the dragon. Up in the top lane, Wunder was pushed back by Cabochard, by the way. Wunder was playing very forward, shoving that wave out, deciding to teleport. got himself a Doran's Blade to go with the Doran's Shield. And Vitality, a cool 1,000 gold lead and a big advantage for Djoko. He's not spent his money yet, still sitting on 1,400 gold before he goes back to upgrade that machete.
And Trashy's like, okay, now I can start playing the game. No flash, but can go into the enemy jungle, take away Raptors. That's the most minor of silver linings for him right now. But he was able to go through the top jungle quite quickly, pick up the camps that he hadn't picked up yet. So he is still significantly behind, as Djoko, you said. He'll now stumble upon the candy wrappers that lie under the Raptors and realize, drat, he's still one camp away from me.
Hashtag worth, question
No.
mark? But, Stress. There are many people out there in internet land and Reddit land that believe the LCS is scripted.
Really?
They do. They think everything's written, everything's planned. And in the script, it's common knowledge that Vitality get early objectives.
Okay.
They get early towers, they get early Rift Heralds.
Okay.
And then they lose the mid-game. That's the script.
Ooh.
Okay? Now, for those people that believe it, for the conspiracy theorists, let's see if that happens.
Is anybody really going to need tinfoil?
Let's see if Splyce can bounce back in the mid-game, because they've done it before. They did in the previous game in some ways, you know. There's Vitality a little bit. They got some of those early objectives, then lost some control. So I'm just setting up the expectations, okay?
Okay.
And then we'll evaluate later.
Tinfoil hats on.
Yes.
We're getting ready for Vitality inevitably losing out after getting all of the objectives in the early game.
Exactly. And Sencux needs to get another kill. Let's look at Sencux versus Nukeduck in that first matchup. Nukeduck definitely looked more impressive in game number 1. His Fizz performance definitely carrying Vitality for a while, 4-1 and 5, but that one crucial kill for Sencux is what mattered to me.
It was in the fight that won the game.
There you go.
It was the one that mattered for Splyce as well. Remember, Sencux heavily punished against that Fizz. There was no real way for him to survive. Early game, he pushed up on his own at level 2, ended up dying, and suddenly Nukeduck had control of the entire game. However, this game isn't so much about Sencux carrying. This game is more about Wunder, more about Kobbe, because if Sencux can get one of those two fed, theoretically he can just sit back and just assist the team for the fights.
I'm looking forward to seeing the synergy between Ivern and Fiora a little bit later, even Ivern and Caitlyn.
Yeah.
Once he can get that trigger seed popped on, get the shield up, root caller, send Fiora flying in. And I'll try to get the right spell name. I messed it up terribly at MSI. Haunts me to this day, getting those spell names backwards. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna fix. I'm gonna fix it. And then we're gonna see Wunder and Trashy trying to combo down members of Vitality at some point in the next 15 to 23 minutes.
That's quite a big range.
It is. It is.
Time.
But it's mid game.
Okay.
Right? It's 22 to 30 minutes. That's when I think Splyce come online.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And at that point, we'll be looking towards Kobbe, as you said, Wunder, utilizing some of that combo. Kobbe's come back, picked up the BF sword, very standard for Caitlyn. You can see Steelback on the other side. Standard, gone towards Blade of the Ruined King. Now, we did hear Pyra relaying some of the message from Yamato Cannon talking about the strength of Kalista paired with Thresh. So that's one of the reasons why Yamato has drafted the Kalista so high priority. But I need to see Vitality committing to keeping Steelback alive the later this game goes, because if Steelback can't output damage, they will run out of it against this Splyce lineup, whose AD carry will be monstrous in the late game.
That's a great point. Nukeduck not going to have the most reliable of ulti bursts. That chrono break, exceptionally difficult to set up. We're getting close to 10 minutes on the marker, and Vitality evenly farming across the map. Wunder not going to get jumped yet. If you look at the minimap, Nukeduck and Djoko start to back away and recall respectively. So Wunder going to stay alive for a few seconds longer.
They'd spotted out the attempted play from Nukeduck and Djoko. Now, of course, that was a play yesterday that worked very well for the Ninjas in Pajamas, going for that top lane dive, getting the kill. Wunder, however, playing around it a lot better. So Splyce are able to stop themselves falling into a play that is commonly happening, that three-man play up onto the top side against some of these carries to really deny them any sense of engage.
Oh, very cheeky there from Sencux.
Yeah.
Almost self-casting that seismic shove. Knocks Nukeduck back onto the unraveled earth, takes a big chunk of damage. It ends up being a pretty even trade. And despite Mikyx going fishing for a Braum, there's no follow-up damage from Kobbe. It looked like he moved back to place a ward.
Yeah, and I like the ward that Vitality have placed as well, that Ivern's about to run over on the minimap at the bottom side. So what this does is essentially denies the Lantern gank potential in the bottom lane that we see very commonly with Thresh. So Vitality essentially is safer to push up than they normally would be. Otherwise you get very heavily punished by that. But speaking of punished, Trashy...
I've seen this movie twice already, and Trashy died in the previous installments. Flashes over the wall, and Djoko doesn't chase, so at least this time Trashy survives.
The sequels are always a letdown.
They always are. Oh, Wunder! He actually lunged out of the way of the explosive cask, but then takes a full trade and ends up basically evening it out. Oh, it looked so good until those last few autos.
Yeah, and then Kobbe goes, oh, he's got a mana. Okay, he can't really duel me that effectively. Has 1 Q and nothing much more to riposte from that. So Kobbe evens up the trade quite quickly. Djoko, through forcing Ivern back, through forcing Trashy back towards the base, he's able to now take a Mountain Drake.
Have you got your tinfoil hats? They got First Blood, they got First Dragon. Is this...
Here we go.
Is this deja vu to anybody? Let's see who gets the first tower. Because it has been Splyce at least a few times.
See, this is what happens when the sequel tries to take things from the first one that everybody liked, and it actually just kind of fails on it. So we'll see how that follows through.
It's going to be interesting to track. And of course, Vitality, this time around, plus 1,300 gold. It's a much larger advantage, and they want more because Steelback and Vander have swapped.
This is something they did last week. Get out of a matchup that they felt a little punished in, where this Caitlyn was dominating some of the laning phase, although they did end up ahead in CS, and now they look for the tower in the top side. Mikyx is here to try and defend through the jungle, so this shouldn't be massively effective when it comes to kills, but the tower should fall in favor of Vitality, and Mikyx and Wunder should be able to get away from this.
All right, let's see. Down in the jungle, Djoko's coming up from the eastern side. Wunder and Mikyx will have support. Sencux has got the Weaver's Wall if he needs to. Gonna decide to
they want to go for this.
Locking in Vitality. Djoko is obliterated where he stands. Sencux gets the kill. That's another game with the kill. Wunder lunges forward. Vander manages to block some damage with the Unbreakable. Summoner heals used on the retreat. The death sentence goes wide, but the shove does not. Vander forced a flash for his life, and Nukeduck was fighting down bottom.
But there's a nice adaptation out of Splyce here, where they draw Kobbe to the middle lane, and now that Nukeduck used his TP to get bottom, Splyce can actually go for the Rift Herald. This was a nice counter-engage on that top lane setup where they concede the tower and say, okay, maybe we'll get more from it now. If we get Rift Herald and look for the higher priority tower in the mid lane, but this is a little slow here. Still got 4 people committed.
They do indeed. The root caller throws Wunder forward. Rift Herald is still the focus, going to get revealed in a moment or two. Daisy's going to try to flash forward, picked up by Splyce, but the fight breaks out. Mikyx can't find a death sentence, double man flay. Mikyx's the sacrifice. They're going to get taken down. How long does it have before time's out?
I believe it's around a minute at this point. So Vitality are going to be able to defend it, but Kobbe, he's still got a lot of damage.
Oh, there's the Vander from last week. No flash. User stand behind me. That ends up costing another kill. And Djoko goes down. Wunder also picks up the Rift Herald.
Wunder is able to get in there, sneak the Rift Herald away.
Oh, come on. Is it happening again? Is it happening again? No, Nukeduck's going to be able to walk away.
So they managed to secure the buff for themselves. They'll likely go into the mid lane. We saw it top lane earlier, but Splyce, this time, able to utilize the Taliyah. We talked about them getting into the side lane. They'd given up the tower, and Djoko couldn't survive. There's a fight going on.
There is indeed. Nukeduck's already phased up. Nukeduck, Sencux flashes forward.
Under the tower, though.
Nukeduck takes 2 more tower shots. A death sentence is sidestepped. Not done yet. Nukeduck turns backwards around. Mikyx gets a kill.
Well, I guess that really is the epitome of being stuck between a rock and a hard place at that point, because Nukeduck had nowhere to go. 2 towers. That was rough. Nukeduck's like, I'm going to outplay.
That was hugely appropriate. Well done. I like that one. Taliyah 2-0-2. A proverbial rock in Vitality's boot. And I'm going to go back. I'm doing this tinfoil hat story because, of course, this was the replay. We'll finish that.
Yeah, Nukeduck goes for the 1v1 on Sencux, doesn't realize that Mikyx is back around and thinks, okay, I've got my ult, I'm fine, it'll take me, under the tower. Great. Good dodge on the hook. Nice, like, mechanical plays, but there's another tower there, and Nukeduck realizes that that was not meant to be.
No, absolutely not. Vitality still have a minor gold lead. thanks to the early game advantage, is going to take a lot of damage on this bottom outer turret. And looking at the mini-map, actually, there's some support here.
TV's coming through as well.
There's a teleport. Djoko and Cabo are coming in. Mikyx, no flash available, uses the flay to buy some time. Vander continues to tank the tower, and the death sentence finds no one. Mikyx kills Djoko. Oh no! The Weaver's wall is jumped over as Cabochard uses that body slam. Tower goes down in the top lane. It looks like the Herald was summoned, coming in from behind. The flank on the tower. It doesn't deal bonus damage, but no support up top. Fate's Call comes out. Vander connects. And not going to be enough for Kobbe to survive. But now Trashy wants to try and buy some time. Here comes Sencux. Blue buff is up. This is turned into a little bit of a fiesta, and I love it! Seismic shot into the barrel. Splyce are split up, but Sencux is the one that gets on the board. He's shut down by Steelback. And Steelback continues to stack those reigns. 2-0-1 Kalista.
So Splyce very messy on the bottom lane here. Wunder was trying to push top lane. Remember, this Fiora is going to be one of the conditions where Splyce are looking to build from for the rest of this game. Very similar to game one. Top lane, they get the outer tower from the Rift Herald. It will be traded for the bottom tower with Nukeduck pushing mid at the same time. So ultimately, Splyce are on the back foot on this exchange. Vitality still maintain a lead. They don't quite secure mid tower from it, but as you said, kills go to Steelback. A few more kills onto Sencux as well, and this game has been blown wide open.
Yes, and Sencux is one of the guys we were looking at, not necessarily the core carry in an Ivern, Fiora, Caitlyn comp, but this fed this early on, definitely going to have the tools to do so. Still down 30 CS, no doubts there, but making up for that in farming champions. We're 15 minutes in. Vitality with that minor lead, you've mentioned stress, but that mid-game in favor of Splyce. The script is still on target.
People are actually going to believe it's scripted if we keep going like
it's
this.
not. It's a conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theories are never true. Yeah, we gotta be careful with that one.
You're going to get a lot of tweets if you're...
Gotta bail out of that one really quickly because there's an Infernal Drake being picked up. Rushmaker will buy some time. Wunder lunges forward and Nukeduck follow his ghost. No one for damage yet. Easily secured by Splyce despite the threat from Vitality. Here comes the fight. Cabochard got the explosive cast. Splits all of Splyce up. The Lantern's stuck in the middle though. That's both top laners down. They're peeling away. Steelback's got a lot of damage for days. Mikyx on a killing spree as he kills Djoko again. And Nukeduck manages to take down Trashy.
Sencux still has his wall though, so they can actually get maybe presence on towards the mid tower if he can cut off the rest of Vitality. But look, the minion wave is so small, they may not be able to get this. The wave is so far back behind the tower behind them. Ooh, Splyce are playing with fire here. Sencux obviously still quite strong.
They've got a lot of mana to work with. The shove catches Nukeduck, but the death sentence is on cooldown. Threaded volley goes out, keeps tagging Nukeduck, and the tower will fall. Splyce, they trade 2 for 2, but get dragon and tower.
It was hard work, but in the end, they get the dragon, they get the tower. This is how the fight started. So you can see Wunder goes into the dragon pit to finish it off alongside Trashy, but gets chunked on the way in. Redemption isn't quite enough, and despite what looked to be a good riposte, he didn't quite riposte the Gragas ultimate, and that pushed him into the team of Vitality, who cleaned that up. Steelback has a lot of damage right now in this fight, but look, Vander is low. Nukeduck low on mana, doesn't want to go back aggressive into the fight, and it's Sencux that had the most damage out of everybody for the majority of that fight.
Yeah, and has been all game long. 4-1 and 3. About 10 minutes ago, we looked at the stats of Nukeduck versus Sencux from game 1. This is the polar opposite. Sencux a good start, good advantage, and more importantly, he's roaming at the right time.
And Vitality have to push onto this tower now, because look at where Wunder is shoving a wave up, but look, Splyce counter-engage!
Djoko again! He is just feeding Splyce! At one point, he was 2-0-1, and now he's given up 5 kills. Actually, 4 of them have been picked up by Mikyx.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen this happen in a long time, where a player dominates the first 5 minutes and then just constantly gets caught again and again, pushing up to the tower, trying to make that play work a little faster than they needed to. We were talking about how they needed to react because Wunder was pushing. Well, don't go too far aggressive. Don't walk under the tower against a Thresh. It's not worth it.
Absolutely not. And with that kill, Splyce now in the gold lead. 20 minutes in. Oh, Mikyx! That death sentence will go wide. Chrono Break is available for Nukeduck. They're relying on Daisy for damage. Sencux is going to flash away in the mid lane. Still got that barrier if needed. Fate's Call going to come out. That's a knock-up now onto Wunder. Sencux buys the barrier. Redemption lands as well. That's a double kill for Wunder.
Wunder says, this happened to me last week. I'm going to inflict it on you with this Fiora. Double kill as Sencux had done a lot of damage up front. Comes in to clean up in the mid lane, and now it's all about this mid lane tower. This is where a Fiora is terrifying because she will start to take over the game, and Vitality are playing right into Splyce's hands here, trying to duel against a strong Sencux when Wunder's here to get his back.
Yeah, Splyce really playing this mid game well. And I want to give some kudos to Mikyx. Thresh 2 games in a row, previous game during the laning phase, saving teammates over and over. This game, similarly, his hooks have been on point, always around with the lanterns as well, and here's this replay of the 2v2.
Yeah, so this was Sencux kind of baiting out for the Kalista ult. In comes Wunder, and at this point, Steelback has to commit. He knows he needs to get Sencux from this because otherwise they're getting nothing in the exchange. And now we're back to mid lane as Kobbe trying desperately to hold on. He even picked himself up a Static Shiv. We were talking about Caitlyn itemization. There were changes to Static Shiv that now allow it to stack with Rapid Fire Cannon. But the key thing is, without that headshot proc coming from the Hurricane that gave Caitlyn great wave clear, this is a supplemental way of adding more wave clear to Caitlyn's build, on top of the Peacemaker she already has with that Q.
Absolutely. Allows him to keep those autos up and running, and Splyce now in command of the game. Quite clearly in command, actually.
Yeah.
Dragon's coming up in a minute and a half. I'm looking at the minimap. Vision, not the deepest as of yet, but there are 5 control wards inside the Splyce inventory. Nuke is going to look for Mikyx. Phase dive has already been proc. Timewinder goes out. Oh, Mikyx with another death sentence. Kobbe takes down Vander. Mikyx figures out how to give this one over.
Yeah, that one goes over to Kobbe, and you can see Vander again trying with the rest of Vitality to make these plays work. And Splyce didn't flinch. Wunder, no TP, but stayed up in the top lane, pushing through. Sencux didn't drift towards mid lane to look for his ultimate, just stays bottom lane. In fact, it was the other way around. Sencux stayed top lane, but just pushing these waves out.
Playing the map.
Yeah.
What was a Splyce of doing? I mean, go like 4 minutes back. Trashy and Mikyx almost killed Nukeduck, and there's no damage to speak of there. Relying on Daisy. Ace in the hole comes down. Redemption is going to heal up Wunder. Djoko takes so much burst. Teleport's not going to be enough just yet. Nukeduck throws down the parallel convergence, but will be unwilling to commit. Mikyx looking, fishing. Flay finds 2. Mikyx gets another. Sets it up for Wunder, who's on a killing spree.
Vitality are falling to the same style of composition that Yamato Cannon taught Splyce to win with, that took them to Worlds, and it'll take them to a win.
Another death sentence finds a target. Oh, Mikyx and Splyce, they take down the inhibitor turret. Daisy's on the front line. The inhibitor's falling shortly thereafter, and Vitality, 3 men left to defend. Splyce, peace out.
It looked in game 1 like Vitality maybe had Splyce's number, but they held an even game throughout and were able to turn it back around. Game 2, aside from the first few minutes, has been all in favor of Splyce. Wunder is in a great position. Sencux, we talked about him being a utility for the rest of the team, setting the rest of the team up. Well, look at the damage he's output in this game. And Kobbe hasn't had to do anything but farm up, get himself stronger into the game. This fight is the epitome of this. Look, everything is just coming from Wunder, from Sencux, and they're able to crush another fight through to the inhibitor in the bottom lane. Splyce have come alive in game 2.
Yeah, really just taking complete control. 2 dragons, got all the vision around the mid lane. That's going to set them up for any sort of Baron play. Vitality, they're the ones that now have to make a desperate move. But how do you burst through the shields and the heals that Ivern's going to put down? I mean, that mid-outer turret is still standing, Stress. Vitality been unable to break through Splyce.
Yeah, they've been desperately trying to. Well, this would break it if they can actually get this. But look, Scryer's Bloom comes through. Splyce are not giving this one up without a fight. But look, Wunder now looks to TP into the fight. 7k health on Baron, so this is still fine.
Yeah, look at Mikyx. He's caught Vander. He throws down the flay. The lantern comes out. Kobbe is going to survive the on-gauge. On Gage, that's a word. Nukeduck forced to run away with his life. Grand Challenge was issued by Wunder, but will be unable to complete it. And that is worrying. Vitality unable to kill Kobbe. It was a one-on-one, and Sencux is continuing to chase. Here comes Daisy and Trashy. Not gonna find the root ball. It does connect onto Djoko. Wunder on the back end, looking for Nukeduck. He's got no chrono break available to him. Kobbe gets a headshot, static shift proc.
No.
And now Kobbe's the target. Mikyx, oh, that fell short. That's a big boy, but he gets away from the hook.
A little bit nimble. Wunder's going to chase him down here. Nexus turret goes down anyway. Splyce, they're going to be able to take Baron out here after chasing Vitality all the way up through the jungle. It should be a very straightforward take here because Djoko is still down for 12 seconds. Wunder, 1 versus 2, 1 versus 3 now. Riposts onto Nukeduck.
Very nicely done. Catches the lantern in just the right time. Here comes Vitality. It's still going to be a steal potential. Not done as Trashy smites it down. Kobbe gets another.
We've seen it before with the Ekko Lichbane proc, but Nukeduck not able to get in there. Couldn't connect with that auto attack onto the Baron, and Splyce are in full control of this game. And I mean, what do you have to say now for Vitality's way of drafting around this? This looked to be a good team fighting composition, but they just couldn't get the on-gauge right. Look, Nukeduck tries to go aggressive. He's about as successful as the N-gauge onto Kobbe at that point because he just couldn't get the kill. Nukeduck had to back away. Djoko was farming up red. He's like, nobody's going to try and kill me. Sees Trashy on a ward running to him.
You know, I reckon we should actually create a dictionary of words that are invented by shoutcasters when they fumble words. Because on-gauge kind of sounds good. I like that one. But look at the damage from Wunder. Almost 2 shots Nukeduck there. And Nukeduck's able to survive.
Let's look at this hook. Oof, just nimble. Cabochard just kind of... Gragas sucking his gut in, getting around that corner.
Yeah, managed to do it though. Saved his life for a few seconds longer.
We've got
much time.
Rapid fire cannon, static shiv. It's long range lightning at this point. At this point, it seems to be less Jeeves as the coach and General Grievous because he's really destroying Vitality's draft, and everything that Splyce are playing around in this game is going so well.
And Vitality failed their on-gauge again. The Fate's Call didn't find a target. Mikyx flashes for the flay, but Djoko is able to dash away. Wunder now on the Nexus turret as the rest of Splyce turn to commit. One last fight. Cabochard knocks Kobbe to safety, and Kobbe thanks him with a headshot to the face. Nexus turret starts to fall. Wunder goes forward. Riposte buys a lot of time. Kobbe and the rest of Splyce, they're sending a message. The Nexus turret goes down. Seismic shot drops down Vitality. The Nexus isn't the focus just yet. It's about killing everyone. Oh, Mikyx, you're so fine. The death sentence connects and Splyce yell, "You have my sympathy," but Yamato, we have no regrets.
A 2-0 from Splyce with somewhat of a return to form from the composition style they were successful with in the 2016 Summer Split. 1-3-1 setup held them through the mid game very well, and Vitality played right into their hands, going under the mid tower again and again and again. They could never crush it down, and they got punished heavily for it.
Did indeed, and that allows Splyce the win. Very different types of games. Game number 1, a little messier, a little bit more chaotic. Game 2, hey, 10 for a hat, true or not. Early game, Vitality can do it.
Shh, stop ruining mid-game.
Mid-game is where we need to see growth. Stress, we saw the same sorts of things last week against UOL. There is some potential there, but it is very rough around the edges.
Yeah, it really was difficult for Vitality once they couldn't break through. You see Splyce handshake to Yamato there, obviously, as we talked about, a long-time coach. Yep. Unsuccessful for Vitality on the day. Of course, these two teams will meet each other once more, at least this split, as we enter the second phase of the round robin a whole lot later. But for now, it's Splyce that fire the first shot in that rivalry.
And it's a pretty convincing shot. You know, this matchup or these two teams could potentially be fighting for third place, and maybe this is a taste of things to come.
Yeah, a taste of things to come. For Vitality, they had a strong early game through Djoko, but we talked about it, it just all went south.
Yeah, they did not have the on-gauge. That will do it from us here at the cast today. Let's leave it to the analyst to break down that Splyce win.
Always delivering an engaging cast, that quick shot. And to complete the analogy of Yamato playing versus the ex-girlfriend and then the pity hug in the end.
Well,
no, I'm just kidding.
Just like, yeah, it's okay.
No, it was very nice to see. But obviously, Yamato can't be happy with that, with his team. Basically, the first 2 weeks of Vitality in general, but I want to be careful by talking too much about that first and not mentioning Splyce's kind of growth. We have seen them put up a great series here in this weekend, and they have a 2-0, which is something that they absolutely needed, the Fisto.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, once you go down in the first week against H3K and you get completely stomped in that second game, you know, just bouncing back very quickly is important for your goals when it comes to you making worlds if you are Splyce. Rough start in this game from Trashy specifically needs to be highlighted, which funny enough kind of set up the game because we thought Djoko would be the carry then.
Yeah, he had a big goal advantage early in the game, 2 kills in the first 4 minutes. I think we have a replay of that as well, just to see. And this might look like Trashy just messing up. He goes for his camps and for a very greedy invade, but this is actually Djoko being very cute. He starts on the red buff when there's a ward on towards his Raptor, so Trashy thinks that Djoko's on the bottom side, still goes for the invade, face checks into Graves, and I think there's another kill for
yeah,
Djoko
now
here.
Trashy's just being a little bit stupid. You know, at first it was Djoko being very smart, and then so the play is that Mikyx goes into blue and Trashy wants to go in and queue over the wall to then just smite the blue and take it. But you can't really make that play when you're still only level 1. That was just very, very greedy from Trashy. And again, we were like, Djoko, wow, he's the man now. He's going to carry this game. And then Djoko more or less just ran it down mid. And he got hooked over and over and over and over and over. And he went from 2-0 to 2-6.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was actually impressive.
So, I know it's easy to say, obviously, well, Djoko didn't do well and he died all those times, and last week we called it out for Vander. But if we take a look back and see the bigger picture for Vitality, now, a year in the making, maybe. Whenever they went off, it was early with Djoko. You know, he even was the first blood king for a while. So is that just showing that there is no real other leadership, no real other initiative in that team because they need him to do this? And maybe he's saying, come on, guys, let's try and make a play happen. Let's try and push our advantage because, you know, the ideas aren't there yet.
I think we've seen a lack of good shot calling from Vitality since Kesing was on the team back in 2016 Spring Split when they had the composition where it was Yanen, Kesing, and then, of course, it was Cabochard, Nukeduck, and in the jungle, I believe it was someone back then in the jungle. It was Shook in the jungle, actually. And that lineup, we actually saw very good shot calling from them. They're very good at starting fights. But, like, the next replay we have near the Rift Herald, the next replay we don't have.
Yeah, we were going to move on because we have an interview waiting, so I just wanted to move it on.
I was just going to show the lack of shot calling because after they actually won the fight, Vander walks in and gets caught and dies, and then suddenly they lose the Rift.
I'm sorry for cutting that for you because I do want to bring it back to Splyce. We have an interview waiting, but we got to highlight the player of the series, Mikyx, and you were mentioning it, Henning, throughout both games, actually. He was on rare form.
For sure. First picking Thresh in both games, just really prioritizing Mikyx, getting out a comfortable champion, and boy, did he deliver. Just back-to-back hooks on to Djoko, as you mentioned. Yeah. And you could say that's Djoko messing up, but you could also say that's Mikyx really knowing his champion really well. 2 games in a row on Thresh where Mikyx looked fantastic. So a lot of credit to him for playing so well in this game, and he obviously deserves play of the series.
Yeah, I think we have a highlight reel of him, but I don't know if we got rid of that as well because
maybe it's the interview ready.
So I don't think so. I don't think it's ready yet. Now we're being played. Oh, okay, we do seem to be ready. So let's go to the interview with Pyra.
Thank you very much, Shocks. And yeah, no bamboozling. We got the proper interview up here. It is with Trashy from Splyce. Now, you guys got the 2-0 on the day, but that was such a back-and-forth series. It looked like anybody could take, honestly, either game for a while. How do you feel in retrospect?
I think we made, especially me in the second game, made a mistake I should never make. I was pretty much just going for a 50-50 play, and enemy team was too smart, so I lost in the lottery. So yeah, we made some mistakes, but I'm happy with our growth through practice. So I think we're on the right track.
Well, Well, that's good to hear, absolutely. And you guys, it seems like there's been a little bit of trouble with Splyce ever since Worlds run, that a lot of other teams seem to kind of be moving up on the ladder compared to you. Do you think that's because they're just improving faster? Or do you think that at least up until now, Splyce has been falling off a little bit?
Honestly, I think we're just last year we were just not that good, honestly. And we have been forced to go through some times where we had to understand the game in different ways for us to become better and play against teams like G2 and you also, like, from playing at the international competition. So I think we are starting to get to a point where we can actually get better. But the problem for us is that we're in a state where people have this perception of us as like mediocre middle tier team in Europe, and we want to change that this split.
Oh, well, all right, bold statements, and now you've brought in a new coach to try and help you do just that. What is Jeeves bringing to the team so far?
I think the most important thing he brought is just we needed a fresh start in some way, and we needed some new perspectives on how to play the game and how we wanted to play the game. And he has brought some new ideas and new philosophies on how to play the game, and we're just taking it in and trying to like use it in the best way for us. And to be honest, it was mostly just getting something new to the team that could help us grow.
Well, it certainly worked out today as a 2-0 is what you got. So congratulations, Trashy, and I hope to see a lot more of that from you guys.
Thank you.
Alrighty, well, that's going to do it for the interview. We're going to go on a quick break. When we return, it's a jungle out there. Mysterious Monkeys take on Unicorns of Love. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
On the verge of going down 0-2 to Splyce. Can their mid-game overcome the Splyce boys as we load up onto the Rift?
Oh, they want to go for this.
Locking in Vitality. Djoko is obliterated where he stands. Sencux gets the kill. That's another game with the kill. Sencux flashes forward.
Under the tower, though.
Nukeduck takes 2 more tower shots. A death sentence is sidestepped. Not done yet. Nukeduck turns backwards around. Mikyx gets a kill.
Vitality have to push onto this tower now because look at where Wunder is shoving a wave up. But look, Splyce counter-engage.
Djoko again. He is just feeding Splyce. The Nexus isn't the focus just yet. It's about killing everyone. Oh, Mikyx, you're so fine. The death sentence connects and Splyce yell, "You have my sympathy," but Yamato, we have no regrets.